Joining us now, MSNBC congressional reporter Michael Schnell, NBC News White House correspondent Vaughn Hilliard, and Semaphore White House correspondent Shelby Talcott. Michael, any movement today?
Yeah, Katie, not really. Look, I will caveat that with the fact that both the House and Senate are out of session today in observance of Yom Kippur, the Jewish holiday, but still not a lot of action up here. We did hear from Speaker Mike Johnson and his leadership team a little bit earlier this morning, and they had stuck by the same talking points, arguing that the onus of this shutdown is on Democrats, and then the best way to reopen the government is to pass that House-passed continuing resolution that was crafted by Republicans. Listen to a taste of what Speaker Johnson had to say.
People say, why aren't you negotiating with Schumer and Jeffries? Because I quite literally have nothing to negotiate. There's nothing I can pull out of the bill that was a Republican priority to say, oh, we won't do that. Why don't you guys vote for it now? I don't have anything. I didn't put anything in it to send it over. I'm stunned. I'm stunned that they have decided to shut the government down and hurt people. It is on them 100%.
Now, Katie, we know that just agreeing to that Republican-crafted stopgap bill is a non-starter among the majority of Senate Democrats. Now, we are aware that some conversations are underway in a bipartisan fashion in the Senate about potentially finding an off-ramp to the current situation. We saw some of those huddles happening on the Senate floor yesterday. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said it was his understanding that they would continue today. But what that bipartisan off-ramp could be, that agreement to reopen the government, really remains elusive as of now. Now, what does the schedule for the next few days look like? The Senate is going to be back here in the Capitol tomorrow. They'll be holding a pair of votes, first on that Democratic-crafted stopgap that includes the Obamacare subsidies and other health care provisions. We're expecting that to fall short of the 60-vote threshold needed to move forward. Senate will also vote on that Republican-crafted stopgap again. Similarly, we expect that to fail as well. Then the path forward remains unlikely, though John Thune, saying this morning that he doesn't expect the Senate will remain in recess over the weekend, which, Katie, that means the shutdown could likely extend into next week.
Yeah, sounds like it. All right, so who is to blame for the shutdown, according to American voters? Here is a Washington Post text poll. 47% say Trump and the Republicans in Congress. 30% say Democrats in Congress. 23% not sure. This is 1,010 adults reached by text on October 1st. And then the other part of this, which is what this whole shutdown is about, these federal subsidies for health care. Here's what people say about that. 71% of the country wants to extend health care subsidies. 29% wants it ended as scheduled. It would end in January, and in some cases, premiums would triple to unaffordable highs for many Americans. Vaughn, where's the White House's head on that? Do these numbers stir them?
Apparently not, because we have not heard any indication that they have any intention of relenting. And I think if the president was worried about it, I don't think that he would have been so explicit as to welcome shutdowns. He's done it in the past, and then I think it's worth going back to just earlier this week. He has been very vocal, arguing that this is effectively, in some ways, an effective approach to cut down government. Take a listen.
We can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. And you all know Russell Vought. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way.
And so, well, you could say Capitol Hill, right, for a little analogy. They're figuring out how the restaurant should be run moving forward. In the meanwhile, Russ Vought and Donald Trump are in the kitchen with the active ingredients in deciding what to slice and dice here. And those two men are here meeting this afternoon to go through potential firings across agencies and potential cuts of projects. He's threatened 16 Democratic states, their green energy projects. He's threatened the tunnel that is being constructed here in New York, a subway transformation project. So there's a lot on the line. And frankly, until the government is reopened, the Office of Personnel Management, they sent out to agencies stating very specifically that the OMB director is the one who is empowered to determine which federal workers are accepted and able to work. And right now, they are making the case, the OMB director, that those who would be processing the firings are crucial workers and workers that should continue to work.
And Russ Vought has been dreaming about this since puberty, according to Utah Senator. Strange way to put it, but I guess that underscores how much he wants to slash the government. What's interesting, Shelby, is Donald Trump, listen, it's a risk, obviously, to shut down the government over anything. And the Democrats are running that risk. They're hoping that banging on about health care subsidies right now as the exchanges open up for enrollment and as people are getting their notices for what next year's premiums are going to cost is going to make a difference. People are going to understand why they've shut down the government. At the same time, what I find puzzling is that when Donald Trump says, you know, if you do this, I'm going to have to permanently lay off people and it's going to be your fault. It's like he's saying, I'm going to punch a guy in the face. And if you don't stop me, if you don't stop my fist, then it's your fault I punched him. It seems like a gamble as well from the White House.
I think anytime there's a shutdown, there's a gamble. Both sides are taking a gamble. You never know ultimately who the American people are going to blame. But the White House is betting at the end of the day that Democrats are going to take the blame. And when I talk to White House officials, they remain confident in that. And they're not really hiding the ball with the fact that part of the result of this shutdown is that they want to, as a senior White House official described to me, force Democrats to understand the consequences of keeping the government closed. And so part of that, you're seeing these sort of cuts, you're seeing these initiatives that are targeting Democratic states. And they're not hiding the ball that these are programs that don't fit the administration's needs, as an administration official told me. And so they're using this shutdown as sort of an opportunity to continue some of those early on Doge-like cuts to continue shrinking the U.S. government.
Give me a little bit about more from your conversation with Senator Kramer about Russ Vought.
Right, yeah. Republicans are concerned about this. They're concerned that they're going to move too quickly and sort of lose the advantage that Republicans believe they had. So Senator Kramer told my colleagues that Russ is less politically in tune than the president, and that we as Republicans have never had so much moral high ground on a government funding bill in our lives. I don't see why we would squander it, which I think is the risk of being aggressive with executive power in this moment. And so you're hearing from Republicans who are sort of urging caution from Russ Vought on all of this. They want the government to take a little bit of a step back and maybe be less aggressive in their cuts because they're concerned that they're going to lose this, what they believe is a winning argument for the American people.
I mean, it's basically the risk that I was just talking about. Why is the White House getting in the way of just saying this is all the Democrats' fault? Why would the White House want to take it a step further and start permanently cutting jobs and then try to blame it on the other side when they're the ones that are in charge of those cuts? So, Michael, are you hearing similar sentiment on the Hill, or is Senator Kramer an outlier?
I think that by and large, we're seeing most Republicans back up President Trump and Russ Vought on this matter. Russ Vought actually spoke directly to House Republicans yesterday. I spoke to a number of members who were on that call, and they told me after that they are supportive of these reductions in force. A number of members had actually said that on the call themselves, according to people who were listening. We also heard from Speaker Mike Johnson this morning, who during that press conference was actually asked directly, are you concerned? You argue that Republicans have the upper hand in this shutdown and that Democrats will be to blame for the situation. Are you at all concerned that these firings and these mass layoffs will prompt that public opinion to change and for Republicans to actually take on more of the onus of the shutdown by the public? And Speaker Johnson said he's not concerned about that. He's not worried. He also actually said that constitutionally what the president and Russ Vought are doing is legal, saying that because the legislative branch is essentially shut down with Congress, with government not funded, the executive branch has those powers, and Russ Vought, as the director of the Office of Management and Budget, he says has wide discretion over what can be done during a shutdown. So the majority of Republicans we are seeing stand quite behind President Trump in this situation and argue that he's in the right for what he's doing. But I'm curious to see how those polls are going to shake out, because, again, these firings are going to impact what they're saying could be thousands of people.
This is obviously a gamble, who's going to get blamed for it, because the midterms are coming up. I mean, they're not coming up, but we are about a year away, and people are going to start campaigning on it. The last time Donald Trump was in office during the midterms, the Democrats focused almost exclusively on health care, and they won back a majority in the midterm elections. And Donald Trump, was investigated quite a bit. The focus on health care seems to be what they're trying to do now, and they're hoping for the same success.
Right. And actually, for the Republican angle of this, I think, right, you see the polling numbers. It doesn't make sense why they would so openly celebrate mass firings. At the same time, people like Russ Vought, I don't know if he's been doing it since puberty, had this vision, but at the same time, they've seen Donald Trump as a vessel. This is what their vision
they've
of
always
an American government wants.
To make the government
and
smaller.
This, 2025 and 2026, is their moment. Right? Forget what happens next November. This is their window of opportunity, the next year, next 13 months, to go and reshape the American government. I was told back during the transition, Russ Vought, it wasn't clear whether he was going to be onboarded, but Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk were big proponents because they saw him as the portal to being able to actually execute the budgetary means to go and do what they knew that they would not be able to do independently through DOGE. They're no longer around. Russ Vought is, and he is the man who is carrying out this vision of the Heritage Foundation, the Center for Renewing America, all of these different right-wing groups. This is their moment.
They campaigned on it. There's no doubt about that.
Correct.
Yvonne Hilliard, always good to have you. Michael Schnell, good to have you as well. And you, Shelby Talcott.